Yes, thank you. This is the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting for Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. It's 3:36 p.m. The meeting is hereby called to order. We have 2 cases today, and who is going to read our cases?
I believe I will.
Mr. Gambrell.
Okay. This is ZAC 2022-4 in the Fairview neighborhood. It's an application to change zone district boundaries from R3 single family to mixed use high to allow for a community arts and cultural center, filed by owner Daryl Jones of the Opportunity Center LLC for property located at 1600 4th Court West, situated in the southwest quarter, section 2033, township 17 south, range 3 west, 35208. This is in Council District 8. The proposed use is Community Arts and Cultural Center. Subject property sits on approximately 1.2 acres of land, 22 acres of land, currently zoned D3. Abutting the subject property to the north, south, east, west are residential homes zoned D3. The applicant's proposal is to repurpose the existing building into a community arts and cultural center, rent it out to various businesses and nonprofits. The Opportunity Center for Arts and Culture site will include a 300-seat venue for theatrical performances, a large reception lobby, community dining hall, full-size basketball gymnasium. The center will provide opportunities for authentic self-expression, cultural heritage preservation, lifelong learning through trade school, daycare, and various nonprofits that target the neighborhood's youth, families, women, young adults, and veterans. The city's long-range land use plan defines the property as residential low. This land use category is designed to allow for single-family residential development. Uses in these districts include single-family home, school, church, neighborhood serving public uses. The applicant's site plan meets the parking requirement for mixed-use high, which is half of what typically is required. All the proposed uses are permitted with conditions or allowed by special exception in the mixed-use high zoning district. Proposed trade school event center space will require a special exception. ZBA, if approved, variances will be required for building setback in the mixed-use district. This property would also have to be resurveyed into one lot. Currently, it's several lots. The parking requirement for this property will be 82 spaces per the zoning ordinance. Let's see. Yeah, so half of that is what's actually required, which would be 41. The applicant plans to restripe the parking lot to have a total of 40 spaces. The property qualifies for a 10% reduction in parking spaces because it's located 904 feet from BJCTA bus stop, and the applicant plans to install 20 bike racks to qualify for a bicycle park reduction at 10%. The Fairview Neighborhood Association made a regular scheduled meeting March 1, 2022. Reviewed proposed project, voted to support proposed rezoning request. The vote was 12 approved, 0 denied. The neighbors in support of the rezoning request because they want to encourage revitalization, improvements, and stability within the community. This property is located within the Western Framework Plan area. The Framework Plan was adopted in May 2017. 5 Points West Implementation Committee was formed and is currently active. The Implementation Committee met a regular scheduled meeting on March 10, 2022, and unanimously supported the project. ZAC, the Zoning Advisory Committee, met at its regular scheduled meeting April 19, 2022, and voted to recommend approval. At our last meeting of Planning and Zoning on April 27, 2022, we continued the case to this meeting with the intent of looking at adding these queue conditions that you see here. So we did queue it out to limit uses. Uses are limited to those allowed in mixed use high, excluding the following. So we excluded these uses, and you'll notice, I think the event center is listed. I think that's important to mention. And then we also have a queue condition on here that the height is limited to the current height of the building. And so that would be the end of the report for this case.
Okay, so we did delay this to this meeting so that we could deal with queue conditions because MUH allows a whole lot of things that are inappropriate in a residential neighborhood.
Correct.
But if we Well, is the applicant here? You're the applicant? Okay, the applicant was a man last time.
No, he said he wouldn't do that.
I think we probably ought to have.
Okay, so you're representing him?
Yes, I'm serving this property today.
Okay.
With the facility coordinator, so I'm over managing the building.
Okay, well, if you could come up to the microphone so that we can ask you some questions. And as you're coming, I wanted to ask Mr. Gambrell, it says the parking requirement for this property will be 82 spaces. Then in the next sentence, it says the total number of parking spaces required is 41. So which is it?
Yeah, so the mixed-use high allows for 50% of what would typically be required. So typically, without the mixed-use high zoning, it would be 82. But because it's in mixed-use high, it would reduce it automatically to 41.
Well, it seems like the language in this sentence should be changed then.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it sounds like it's both when it's actually the one.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is very confusing, and when it gets to the council, we'll probably be confused by it. So if we just make it say what it's supposed to say,
Yeah, I
that
would
would
agree.
be good. So, you heard the changes that we're proposing to make, and you have a copy of them?
I don't have a copy of them yet. Normally just sends it over. But I did hear what he said.
I've sent everything to Daryl, so he is aware of those queue conditions.
Okay. I did get the event center information prior to this meeting.
Okay, so are y'all good with these changes?
Yes, ma'am. So just to be clear, just to make sure I understood, so the only thing is we'll be approved with conditions of not having the event center. Was there anything else that I missed?
Well, there's a list of uses here, that we wanted to queue out, so I'm going to go through them, and I think we may want to add one that we just discussed here between me and Jess. And so automobile sales, funeral home, hospital, adult establishment, animal boarding facility, animal daycare, appliance repair, automobile parking, automobile service, automobile light truck repair, brew pub, microbrewery, car wash, both automated and manual, community living facility, convenience store, distillery, artisanal, event center, manufacturing specialized, mini storage warehouse, the opioid replacement therapy treatment facility, payday loan, recycling, collection center, scientific lab, title loan pawn shop, warehouse office, and then water sewer pumping station. And I think it would behoove us to add apartments or multifamily to that list.
Yeah, that should come back to the neighborhood if somebody wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that should come back to us.
Right, to another process.
Yeah.
So I think we want to add multifamily to this list.
Okay. So, Councilor Woods?
I know we delayed this once because we were adding queue conditions. Will that require us to delay this again?
No, I don't think so. I think, no, I would say not. If we were at city council right now, I would say yes. But this isn't really a public hearing as such, and we haven't advertised this as a public hearing. And that's, in a council case, we want to adopt what we advertise in a public hearing.
Yeah, so if we do it here, we're okay.
Yeah,
If we
yeah.
tried to do it at the council meeting, we'd have to publish it again, and it would cost a lot of money.
That's right.
So, are y'all okay?
Yeah, we are. We had no intention on using it for either of those things. So that sounds good.
Well, we figured you wouldn't, but if you sold it to someone else, they might.
Right, and that makes sense. Yes, ma'am. I think they explained it to us, so I appreciate you making that clear. Yes, ma'am, but we didn't have intention on using it as that. And for the most part, there will be youth events that we were trying to, host anyway. So, we'll have use of the gym to be able to create those fundraisers.
Okay. So, any questions, Councilor Tate? You okay?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. What's the timeline that, once this goes through council, because I was looking at, all of the plans that you guys, have for the facility. So what's the timeline to get this project, off the ground? What's your projected timeline?
Well, to be honest, it's been delayed. Initially, it was by May 1st. So we're looking at July, around like after the holiday to open now. Everything is pretty much going well with the building.
Okay.
So it's looking great.
Okay, I just wanted to know, just a projected timeline when you guys will be able to welcome, the neighborhood and, the public into the building.
Yes.
Okay.
So it will be this summer.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I move approval
I second the motion
With the Q conditions.
with the Q conditions.
with the additional no apartments or no multifamily.
No multifamily, yeah.
Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that item passes, and we'll send it to the full council with our recommendation for approval. So thank you very much for being here. Next item.
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is ZAC 2022-5. It's in the Overton neighborhood, and it's an application to change zone district boundaries from QD5 qualified multiple dwelling district to C2 general commercial district to eliminate certain legal nonconformities on the property filed by C. Randall Minor on behalf of the owner, Crown at Cahaba Apartments, limited partnership for the property located at 5050 Cahaba River Road and situated in the northwest quarter, section 35, township 18 South, range 2 West, 35243. This is in Council District 2. The existing use that's currently on the property is a 255-unit luxury apartment development. The subject property sits on approximately 12 acres of land currently zoned QD5, abutting the subject property to the north, privately owned property zone QD5. Abutting that property to the north is a large section zone QC2. The properties located to the south, east, and west are outside of the city limits of Birmingham. The current zoning qualified multifamily district is designed to allow for a range of medium to high density residential development characterized by multifamily structures. A previous action, I guess ZAC 2001-123, was when this property was originally zoned for the current use. At that time, the property was rezoned from a combination of different districts to QB3, and there was a Q condition placed on the property that basically required a site plan review. In addition to the current Q conditions, there's some following Q conditions that are suggested to be added as part of this case, and one of those is to limit the height of 62 feet, I think is the current height of the property now. And then uses are limited to those allowed in C2, general commercial, excluding the following: automobile service, automobile light truck repair, recycling collection, water, sewer, and pumping station. The applicant's proposal is to continue the current use of the 255 luxury apartment development. The long-range land use plan identifies the property as general commercial, and the zoning ordinance. The applicant's proposal or proposed site plan shows 511 parking spaces, which is in excess of what's required, which is the requirement is 336. So their parking is in excess, and so we've asked them to provide some LID technique to help control stormwater. And of course, their landscaping will have to be, meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance. Let's see, the Neighborhood Association, the Overton Association met April 5th, 2022, and recommended approval of 3-0 vote. The framework plan in this area is not currently active, and the Zoning Advisory Committee met a regular scheduled meeting on May 3rd, 2022, and voted to recommend the request with the Q conditions that have been mentioned. Did I need to add something? Oh, yeah, there are some details that have been since provided about what they intend to do to remediate the extra parking spaces, and so they've provided some details to the city's stormwater engineer that they believe satisfy the request. And so they're proposing, the applicants proposed that the pond So there's an existing pond there, is that right? Right, okay, so there's an existing pond that appears to need some maintenance. And so there's going to be a 6-inch low flow pipe that would be the only outlet flow. Maybe it would be good for the applicant to explain this a little bit, kind of what they're proposing here. And I do understand that the stormwater engineer has agreed that this is a good plan. Okay. So I think it would be a good idea to hear from the applicant about their intervention on the stormwater situation.
Yes, I think that's a good idea, because I don't see a pond or a
Don't see a
lake on
pond
the
at all.
property.
Yeah, I think it's on page 8 of your, not the agenda, but the attached item.
Is it just dry in this photograph? On page 7? Is it
It's
over
a
here?
drawing on page 8.
Yeah, page 8 is the one.
Yeah, I'm saying on page 7, is it just basically there's no water in it?
That's showing you how far the development is from the Cahaba River shoreline.
Yeah, but I'm saying look on page 7 near the swimming pool. Is that where that pond is, the detention pond?
No, I think it's to the east of the property, closer to the river, from what I can tell on this drawing.
Well, I'm saying on the drawing on page 8, we should be able to see it on page 7.
Go up.
Unless it's at the top left-hand corner or something.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I guess that's it up here. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, so it's on the north side of the property. I see it there. Yeah, so like you say, you see the pool, there's the cutout area, and then where the curve, yeah. So that's the pond there. But apparently it's not. I think it would be good for the applicant to explain kind of the current situation and what they're going to do to make it better.
Yes, sir.
Randall Miner, 1901 6th Avenue North.
Yeah, I didn't see this.
I'm the associate.
Okay, remember, we have the worst microphones in the world, so.
Yeah, I know.
Crown at Cahaba Associates. So just follow on what Mr. Gambrell was just saying. And I'm not sure, I don't have the same package that you guys have, but I pulled up the aerial photo and I think that's what you guys are looking at, something that shows Cahaba. So if you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at, Cahaba is on the right side of the drawing. Area just north of the parking lot that there looks like there's a pond there. Basically, what let me explain.
Which way is north on this drawing? There's no arrow.
If you're looking at the same orientation I am, north would be to the left of the page. That's what you're looking at. And put it another way, do y'all have the survey? I have that. You guys know if they got the survey?
They do have that. That's the site plan.
There's a site plan that has a survey, and the area to north on this, the survey is straight up on the page.
Page 5.
It's on page 5.
Oh, got it. Okay, so I'm looking at page 5 and I can't see a pond. Just tell me where the pond is.
Yeah.
Is it right below the compass?
Well, it's just to the east of where the north arrow is.
And I'm catching up a little bit. Sorry. So I'm going to try to email Jess, you guys, a picture too of inside this existing. We're actually actively trying to do work there now to kind of make this compliant. Just backing up one just a little bit, how this came about. We discovered that there's been a downzoning. We discovered it was going through the process. It was discovered. All right. Well, yeah, you couldn't rebuild this project under the downzoning. Thought there may be a parking over issue, and so we discussed that with staff, and I think there was a couple other things that they were concerned about. Fire burns it. We went with staff, we want to keep the same number of parking spots, so just kind of literally it's the same plan. We've got the plans already, rebuilt everything. Requested to look at stormwater detention measures. Given engineering stormwater regulations, what would be the best way to mitigate things? There is some it drains, if it doesn't drain. Well, and so the proposal is to dig out that well. One other piece actually start doing that work, because in order to do this work, they have to access other property. So they've gotten approval to get access. A letter from Walter Scholl, kind of all that's to say, there's about 15 dump trucks worth of dirt they're going to plan to haul out of this area and kind of landscape it. So apparently that was not, what it was. That's what we're doing. There is cost associated with this, and something that is hopefully that answers the question. But if you're looking at the survey, just going back to that, the top of the page, you can see it. So it's just north of that heavy line is where this area is. You access it from the property adjacent to property where this is elevated from this detention pond. So the only other way to access it would be to go from the parking lot and then drop equipment down. That's why they're doing it this way.
Okay, so this pond is on this drawing right here, it's right there.
Right.
Got it. Right where the word acreage is. Parcel number, I can't read it.
I can send you guys a picture of what it looks like now, if that's helpful.
So basically, the reason we're doing the rezoning is that you want the increased height, so if a fire or a tornado or whatever comes by and knocks down the building, you can build it back the way it is now.
Right.
And then, of course, you've got the excess parking.
But with these measures, we'll be compliant under zoning.
Okay.
You can always have excess parking, but you just have to have.
But are they doing?
Okay, any questions? Do we have a motion?
Exciting times.
Right, but I'm not seeing it.
I move that we go forward with a recommendation to approve.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we're going to recommend to the full council that this be approved.
My understanding is that due to the World Games, we're likely to have a public hearing in August or late July. Is that?
The staff knows. I didn't realize the World Games were going to delay us.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to get down here.
Haven't heard that.
I know they got a lot blocked off
we're not gonna have
Well,
council
so-
meetings July 5th and 12th, for public hearings and council meetings. So it'll have to be after July 12th.
Okay. So,
July 19th.
Well, we need to identify the exact date. No, we won't be having public hearings and council meeting on the 5th. Have to see exactly how.
do we have a queue of projects that are waiting to be heard?
So for zoning, we'll probably have 5 cases that are ready to go to city council at that point.
And we do limit ourselves to 2 cases per meeting, so we don't end up like we did on Tuesday, being bogged down. Okay, that's good. Well, we're going to recommend it, and the staff is going to tell you when they're going to suggest to us that we set the public hearing. Okay? Okay, our last item is our appointments to vacant positions on the ZBA and the Planning Commission, isn't that right? Yes. So, thank you. And I know our deadline has passed. The deadline was the 15th of May, so we're fully qualified to make decisions.
Oh, I see. I got you. Yeah, so I know that it seems like we have one planning commission vacancy. And I saw, a series of resumes, I think, that is in your possession. Is that right?
Well, we think we have all of them unless they sent them to you.
I thought there was one that came in more recently that was forwarded along, I believe. But from what I understand, the full list is in your possession.
Okay. So what we need to do is, since Daryl Lee is back now, so we need to send them to all the members of the committee, and we need to determine if we can make a decision by reading people's resumes or whether we need to bring them in for interviews.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do is make sure that we send y'all all the resumes for which committee they want to be appointed, and then we'll make a decision whether to bring people in or, like last time it was kind of a no-brainer because we needed people really fast and we had qualified people who applied and we had the right number and we just did it because we didn't want the committees to not meet for lack of a quorum anymore, since they'd already done that several times. So this time we can be ever so slightly more.
Yeah, a little more deliberate. Yeah.
And also, one of the things you get by having in-person interviews is you get to ask them if they actually have the time to attend the meetings, because the problem that we have is that people want to be appointed to these boards, but then sometimes they suddenly discover they don't really have time to make the meetings, and then we have to eliminate them and get somebody new, and it's just, that's not good.
Yeah.
We need to have people who actually know ahead of time that they can attend the meetings. So that's what we will do, and that being the next step for me, we're to old and new business.
Well, let me also mention ZBA, because there are 2 positions that are still available there. There's a supernumerary position, and then somebody in the construction trades. There's 2 spots that are still available there. And I don't know that we have any resumes currently, but maybe we need to go through the process of, advertising for that again to see if we can, get some more resumes for those 2 positions. I think it would help us over the long term to have that board completely filled out as well.
Yeah, now the supernumerary can be any background.
Correct.
Because that person just fills in when we are missing our normal members.
That's correct.
And don't we have 2 supernumerary slots?
There are 2 supernumerary positions. Robert Littleton serves in one of those spots now, and then there's one available.
Okay, and then the other vacancy that we have is a, full-time member, and that's somebody in the construction trades,
right,
which I know somebody knows a lot of people in the construction trades. And that can be a contractor.
Yeah, it's kind of general in the terminology of construction trade, so, we probably need to get some clarification on that and provide that to you.
Yeah, because construction trades, it could be a carpenter.
It may say building trades, but we need to get some clarification on that and provide that to you. We'll do that this afternoon or tomorrow morning.
Okay, and then let me know what I need to do. I mean, if I need to make announcements from the dais.
Right.
Because the council's requirement is we announce it publicly at least twice.
Right.
And then beyond that, if we need to advertise to try to find someone, it'd be great if we could find someone who was retired, because then they wouldn't have a boss that was breathing down their neck.
Right. I think one of the current members is having some of that issue right now. I know that they changed their meeting time from 2 to 3 to try and help with that.
Okay. Okay, so we're still looking for someone in the building trades, but will you just email us and tell us exactly what kind of positions fit in the building trades category
Yeah, we'll do that.
so that we can start hunting?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Okay, now we are to item 5, old and new business. Does anybody have any? I do not. And now we are to item 6, one of our favorites. Do we have a motion?
I move adjournment.
It has been moved and properly seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.